All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. We've got a new game we're going to be checking out here. I've played a little bit of this on my own here and there. This is a solo tabletop RPG called Ironsworn Starforged. The base version of this, just regular Ironsworn, is a fantasy game, and it is free for download. This is the sci-fi version. You do have to pay a little bit for this, but there is there's a more seafaring themed version, and then there's the base game, which is kind of a Viking fantasy theme, but there are all kinds of hacks and free modules and stuff that people have made to kind of get whatever sort of setting and setup you want to do. So we're going to be going through our own little adventure here through this series, and this is session 0, where we're going to set up our world and make our character. Now I've got the PDF off on the other screen to walk us through this. So this is a website called Stargazer, and it's sort of an online campaign manager. It's all free, and it's got everything you really need to go through and play. You will still probably need the books and stuff just to give you the nitty-gritty details and whatnot. This is but this is a great way if you don't want to do pen and paper and write everything down. This is like the recommended one for Starforged. So we're gonna go through and build our world first, and there are some default assumptions and some suggested paths, and we might use some of them and we might not. So first off, we're going to go through the default assumptions that we don't choose. This is kind of the core assumptions that this game and the rules for it are built around. So the first one is that this is a perilous future. 2 centuries ago, your people fled a cataclysm and settled a distant galaxy called the Forge. This is a chaotic place full of dangers and mysteries. So this is going to be a really dangerous world. The further away you get from civilization, the more dangerous it is. And even in civilized areas, there's still going to be issues as people are fighting for resources and trying to carve out their existence in this this harsh world, or worlds actually, as we will see multiple planets and multiple settings throughout this. The next is, this is a lonely future. With some possible exceptions, humans are the only known intelligent life form in the galaxy. Others once lived here, but only mysterious and perilous vaults remain to mark their legacy. So I am going to keep that. Sometimes I like to do more of a Star Wars-y feel where there's a bunch of different aliens, but I think we're just going to have humans in this just to make the narrative and stuff a little cleaner and not get bogged down with introducing a whole bunch of new type of people and stuff like that. However, this is a diverse future. There's a vibrant mix of people and cultures among the humans of the Forge, and that's we'll get into that. I do have an idea. I've been thinking about this world a little bit here and there, so we'll get into how old humanity from Earth is represented in this new dangerous world. This is a far-flung future. Settlements lie scattered and often isolated from one another. Your starship can travel at faster than light speeds, but it is ponderously slow at a cosmic scale. So we are going to be able to hop around and jump and do a whole bunch of different places on this adventure, but there are still limitations and there are still potential dangers when we try to use that to our advantage. This is an unexplored future. Discoveries await even in settled regions. Much of the Forge is unknown and uncharted. There are a lot of things to discover in this world, as we'll find out. And that leads into the next assumption of the wondrous future. The Forge is a galaxy of ancient mysteries, seafaring creatures, startling phenomenon, and other marvels. So there are all kinds of weird shenanigans that we are going to discover and get into. Next one is, this is a retro future. Envision the technology you wield as only slightly advanced over today's real-world technologies, or even a step back in many ways. Resources are scarce. People of the Forge must cobble together what they can. So this is not going to be technology-wise like your classic sci-fi of like Star Wars and Star Trek. This is going to be like somewhat the original trilogy Star Wars and like Alien and stuff like that, where it's not all like augmented reality. This is gonna be more like industrial futuristic type stuff. Next is, this is an unjust future. Those in power hoard resources, controlling technologies, and imposing their will on others through force or cunning. So we are going to find some people who are not so nice, some people who are probably very nice and helpful and friendly to us, and some people who will probably be willing to scratch our backs if we scratch theirs first. But this is also a hopeful future. Despite these challenges, hopes remain. Fulfilling your sworn vows is a realization of that hope. So this game centers around fulfilling vows, making vows and fulfilling them. That's how we guide our story, as we swear to help people and swear to protect people, and maybe swear to hurt some people if they're in our way. So now we move on to the specifics of our version of this world. There are 14 truths, as they call them. You can see them here, and we'll go through these one by one and pick what they are, and then when we have a question of how the world works or how something should go down and we're not sure, we can refer back to these truths. So first is the cataclysm. This is what caused us to leave our galaxy 200 years ago. So there are 3 initial choices. The first one is a sun plague extinguished the stars in our home galaxy. An interdimensional entity invaded our reality, or we escaped the ravages of a catastrophic war. I'm gonna pick that one. We escaped the ravages of a catastrophic war. Over millennia, we consumed resources and shattered lives as we fueled the engines of industry expansion and war. In the end, a powerful foe took advantage of our rivalries in a violent bid for power. Fleeing the devastation, we assembled our fleets and traveled to the Forge, a new home, a fresh start. In this final war, we were set upon by, and now there are a couple of options suggested to roll for. I'm just going to pick which one makes the most sense. Is there one on this list? We've got artificial intelligence, religious zealots, genetically engineered soldiers, self-replicating nanomachines, or a tyrannical faction or leader. I'm going to say a tyrannical faction. I also apologize if I spell anything wrong. I think this thing will correct me if I do, but if that bothers you, you're gonna have to endure that here, because I am terrible at spelling in the English language. That is because I try to spell things phonetically in a language where phonetically is not spelled with an F. So we move on to the next one. Exodus. This is how we left. Option 1 of the suggested is when the Exodus fleet set off on a ponderous journey to our new home outside the galaxy, they marked the Forge as their destination. Countless generations lives out their lives aboard these titanic ships during the millennia-long passage. So that's the classic generation ship. You build a big ship that people can live on, and that can sustain people if you don't have like stasis or cryopods or something like that. The other option suggested is a ragtag fleet of ships propelled at tremendous speeds by experimental FTL drives carried our ancestors to the Forge, but the technology that powered these ships is said to be a source of the sundering, a fracturing in reality that plagues us here today. That is what I used in one of my last games that I played by myself to add a little bit of potential problems that our ancestors caused for us to clean up. And the last option is mysterious alien gates provided instantaneous one-way passage to the Forge. I'm going to pick the first one. I've been picturing these big generation ships that were used as sort of a founding for our next thing for the communities. Which is, few survived the journey to the Forge and were scattered into the winds of this perilous place. Another one is, dangers abound, but there is safety in numbers. Many ships and settlements are united under the banner of one of the founder clans. and we have made our mark in this galaxy, but the energy storms we call balefires threaten to undo progress, leaving our communities isolated and vulnerable. So we're gonna go with the second one, because what I'm picturing here is that these founder clans are the original generation ships that were survived, and they were designed to be like initial almost arcologies, self-contained communities that they've transformed from spaceship to capital city almost, and that the original clans spread out from there. So these founder clans, as we call them now, are the remnants of old cultures and societies. So there's a bunch of these massive colony ships that turned into the central point of settlements and civilizations in the Forge. So we might get a bit of there's both diversity and what's the word I'm looking for, homogeny, I think. Overall in the Forge there's lots of different types of peoples, but these peoples are contained to where their original ancestors settled down. Now it is possible, like for people like us, the Ironsworn especially, to move around, and there's definitely because of how diverse the original world is, there's definitely diversity in these clans, but you're gonna see some different majority groups based on where the original ships were from. And I'm not gonna set a specific number. I'm not gonna set like, oh, there's one for each continent or anything like that. Just a good chunk of a geographical location would have all piled into one ship and gotten the hell out of there as we tore the world apart. So that'll be reflected when we see them in this world. So next is iron. This is what iron vows mean to us, what we are as Ironsworn. So Ironsworn people are the people who swear vows and hold themselves to the vows. And there are some Ironsworn, we're not the only one. But how are they looked upon in this world? So a couple of options are iron vows are sworn upon the remnants of ships that carried our people to the Forge. That's not going to work with what we've got. Iron vows are sworn upon totems crafted from an enigmatic metal we call black iron. And the Ironsworn bind their honor to iron blades. I think the second one works for what I was imagining. So what I'm picturing is that the way people swear their iron vows in this world is they have little black iron charms that they use, that when they swear, they keep them like on their person, and when they swear a vow, they either hang it on like a necklace, or what we're gonna do in our case is a weapon that they specialize in using to remind themselves and to signify that they will keep this vow in mind moving forward until it's taken care of. So next is the laws. Much of the settled domain are a lawless frontier. Criminal factions and corrupt leaders hold sway. Laws and governance vary across the settled domains, but bounty hunters are given wide latitude to pursue their contracts. Their authority is almost universally recognized and supersedes local laws. And final option of the suggested is our communities are bound under the terms of the Covenant, a charter established after the Exodus. The organization called the Keepers is sworn to uphold those laws. So the second is what we're going to go with, because we are going to be a bounty hunter of sorts, both mechanically and narratively hunting some people down. We'll get into that more when we make our characters. Or our character, I should say. Religion next. Our gods have failed us. We left them behind. or our faith is as diverse as our people. And 3 dominant religious orders, the triumvirate, battle for influence over power and the forge. I'm just going to go with the simple one. Our faith is as diverse as our people. Many have no religion or offer the occasional prayer out of habit. Others pay homage to the gods of our forebears as a way of connecting to the roots. I think a big... or you know what? No. I remember I had an idea for this. Let's... Okay, I don't know how to... I can't clear that, apparently. But I'm going to do one of our own. We were saved by the stars as we fled our home and found a new one among them. They now guide and protect us. So I think stars are going to be a big part of the religion. I've always loved the idea of telling stories with the constellation and the stars. So I think we're gonna go with that. A new religious movement has formed, and I'm not very religious myself, so I don't know how much that's going to come into play. But if it does, it is going to be stories that we have told and recorded based on our new stars in our new home over the generations that have grown up in here. We sailed amongst them, and now we live amongst them. Magic. Some options are magic does not exist. Supernatural powers are wielded by those rare people we call paragons, or unnatural energies flow through the forge. Magic and science are 2 sides of the same coin. Now I'm going to pick that third one. I think we might have a little bit of magic in our character eventually, because we do have the ability to level up and gain new abilities. There is going to be some magic. It's probably going to be closer to like the Force from Star Wars than straight up magic. It's going to be but there's definitely, I like the idea of some magic powers. It's not going to be like wizards and sorcerers slinging spells all over the place, but there might be some pyrokinetics and some future tellers and stuff like that around, and we might end up being one of them. So our next one, communication and data. Much was lost when we came to the Forge. It is a dark age. Information is life. We rely on the spaceborne couriers to transport messages and data across vast distances between settlements, or in settled domains, a network of data hubs called the Weave allow near instantaneous communication and data sharing between ships and outposts. I like that last one. I like the idea that the settled areas around the old colony ships have well connected setups, and it's almost used as a way to keep people there, to where it's like, oh, you can stay here in this safe and nice protected kingdom that we've built, or you can go out into the stars and go to some random backwater planet and try to have your freedom and live away from these laws that you don't like and that you don't want to deal with. But you're gonna lose all of our ability to talk and to coordinate and to work together, and a emphasis of the safety of numbers because of the connectivity and the knowledge that these old ships house. And I'm gonna have to come up with a name for these. I'll have to look up some synonyms and stuff for an arcology. That doesn't sound quite right. For what these generation ships have become. I guess we'll go with capital ships. We'll say they're capital ships for now. Let's move on to the next one. Medicine. We have advanced medical technologies and expertise are lost during the Exodus. To help offset the scarcity of medical supplies and knowledge, resourceful technicians we call riggers create basic organ and limb replacements, or Orders of sworn healers preserve our medical knowledge and train new generations. I think the second one works. It gives us a little bit of sci-fi, a little bit of that industrial cyberpunk feel with like mechanical limbs and stuff like that, and but also a little bit of that old battlefield of like, well, we can try to heal you, but we don't have a lot of medical supplies, so your choice is either we try to treat you and you might die of an infection, or we cut your leg off and give you a new one made of metal. What do you want to do? So any places where there's a lot of danger and a lot of war, we're probably going to see a lot of cybernetic limbs, and that's also going to be like, well, you've got this cybernetic limb now, it costs a lot of money, and resources are pretty scarce, so now you got to stay and help us. It's another way for the people in charge to control their peoples. Yeah, I'm both a fan of cyberpunk, and I've been reading and listening to a lot of Star Wars old, like I think it's called Legends now, the old lore before the canon wipe. So there's probably gonna be a lot of influence in there. There's definitely some influence in our faction and our person that we're gonna make in the old school pre-Jedi lore, because I liked some stuff there. But yeah, so I think we've got a little bit of a cyberpunk feel in this world going on around, like, not corporations, but just how much control and how manipulative the controlling factions and stuff are. We're getting to the bottom, so I'm going to toggle off this dice roller so we can see everything. Artificial intelligence next. I don't think we have big, strong artificial intelligences that I don't think we've got synthetic people walking around and stuff. So let's see what our options are. We no longer have access to advanced computer systems. Instead, we must rely on seers we call adepts. The vestiges of advanced machine intelligence are coveted and wielded by those in power. Artificial consciousness emerged in the time before the Exodus, and sentient machines live with us here in the Forge. So definitely not the third one. I kind of want to do a combination of the first and the second one. So we're gonna say artificial intelligences, multiple, guided us to our new home. We have preserved them in the colony ships, and those in power use them to maintain order and control, but a faction of seers live in the less developed parts of the Forge and guide the peoples there. Cold War. Well, no, it's not. I don't think it's Cold War, because I think the whole point of this campaign is going to be a bit of a not so Cold War. So conflict has arisen. There we go. Conflict has arisen between the two ideals as our people have spread. Yeah, there we go. So there's both some artificial intelligence. They're controlled and kept and guarded very closely by the people who are in charge of the capital ships. But since coming here, we have learned of magical energies that we can control and manipulate, and some people, instead of using the predictive algorithms and the guidance of the AIs, have turned to these magical seers that have become kind of like what the old depictions of like the wise men and stuff were from earlier civilizations, using their power of observation and intelligence to guide their peoples outside of the rule of the capitals. And I think the conflict between those groups is going to be central to our theme and our character's journey. War. War here in the Forge, resources are too precious to support organized fighting forces or advanced weaponry. Another option is professional soldiers defend and expand the holdings of those who are able to pay. The rest of us are on our own. And the last one is war never ends. Talented weaponsmiths and shipwrights craft deadly high-tech tools of destruction. Dominant factions wield mighty fleets and battle-hardened troops. I think the last one. Yeah. It's not quite as extensive as this says, but this is close enough. Those people, the ones who have the resources, especially around the capital ships, who probably had industrial technology and stuff preserved on those ships to help manufacture settlements quickly and get people bunkered in and establish a community, probably guard those pretty fiercely. So those the farther out you get from the civilized, the inner worlds and stuff, the less you're gonna see that. But if you run into a group from those people, or you try to establish yourself near one of those, you're definitely gonna have to deal with some pretty dominant forces. The life forms here. Life forms. This is a perilous and often inhospitable galaxy, but life finds a way. Many sites and planets are infested with dreadful forge spawn. These aberrant creatures threaten to overrun other life in the galaxy. Or life in the forge was seeded and engineered by the Essentia, ancient entities who enact their inscrutable will in the galaxy. I think we're just gonna do the first one, not just because I like the Ian Malcolm quote, but just the general, we've got it's a sci-fi setting. We've got plenty of critters and plenty of, there might not be other sentients, but there's a lot of weird stuff out there. And I also do like this detail that even animals from our homeworld carried aboard the Exodus ships have adapted to live with us in the Forge. So because we would have had to have meat and stuff like that, so we definitely would have brought people, animals and stuff with us. I'm gonna say it makes sense that maybe even some of the less well-off planets might use like horses and stuff like that instead of like hover bikes and rovers to get around. So the last two we've got here, we've got precursors. Now precursors are the old ones who came before. So this is the remnants of the old civilization that lived in the Forge before us. So over eons, a vast number of civilizations rose and fell in the Forge. Today, the folk we call grubs, scavenger crews, and audacious explorers delve into the mysterious monuments and ruins of these ancient beings. Or the Ascendancy, an advanced the advanced spacefaring empire once ruled the entirety of the Forge. Vaults of inscrutable purpose are all that remain to mark the Ascendancy's legacy, but those places are untethered from our own reality. Or biomechanical life forms we called the Remnants, engineered by civilizations as weapons in the cataclysmic war, survived the death of their creators. I think we'll go with the first one. We might not end up calling scavengers grubs. They might just be scavengers, or maybe even just like scavies or scavs, something like that. But I think there's a number of ancient civilizations that have been built upon and died, and as we maybe not all of them could spread across the Forge, so there might only be like a star system or this one has like the nearest couple of star systems, and there might be some that you might find outposts of a great old empire that spanned the entirety of the Forge. So we'll get some variety in our ancient ancestors, and not have just one like monolithic mega empire. But finally we get to the horrors, the weird scary shit. What are our options? Our suggestions? Put enough alcohol in a spacer and they'll tell you stories of ghost ships crewed by vengeful undead. It's nonsense. Or, most insist the horrors aren't real. Spacers know the truth. And finally, strange energies of the Forge give unnatural life to the dead. The Soulbinders are an organization sworn to confront these horrifying entities. I'm gonna go with the middle ground. Most insist that the horrors aren't real. What's the rest of these details? Some say that we are cursed by those who did not survive the cataclysm, and the veil between life and death is forever weakened. Supernatural occurrences and entities are especially common near white dwarf stars. These stellar objects, which spacers call ghost lights, are decaying remnants of a dead star. I like that little detail. So if we ever find ourselves near a white star, I don't know if there is a chart to roll up random star types, but if there isn't, I'll have to make one to double check if we ever find a white dwarf star. So there are horrors. There is, you know, we've already got the space magic, and sometimes space magic does scary stuff. Some people who don't leave their capital ship or their homeworld might say that these horrors don't exist, but we know the truth. We know it's out there. There's some bad stuff, and we might end up having to deal with it. So that's our world. This is where we live. This is where what I'm going to be calling Crystalline Shadows, the story, comes up with, takes place. This is where we're going to be romping around to have some fun and to see what happens to our main character, and that's what we'll move on to now. We'll move on to creating our character. Now I've already come up with his name, Ash Yeager. Pronouns will do he, they. He's not too particular, although he does present is going to be a mostly masculine figure. So we have to go through and pick some stuff here. So first off, to explain some of this that's on here, if you guys aren't familiar with this, you've got three tracks that are going to tell you how well you're doing and what kind of shape our character's in. We've got health, which is our physical track. We've got spirit, which is kind of our emotional and mental stability. And then we've got supply. This is, you know, how much gear we have, how much money we have, how much food and resources we got. So if any of these hit 0, we're going to be having a pretty bad time. Next is our momentum. This is a way to kind of bank success and avoid failure. This number will go up and down a lot. What you can do is you can burn your momentum to make up for bad rolls, and when you get good rolls, it'll build your momentum. So you can when you get success, it banks a little bit of that success to mitigate failure in the future. Step 1 is we have to choose our assets. We'll get into what these attributes are in a little bit, but we start with some assets. And now what we get first is we get a starship. Actually, I think we go into that later. So so first we choose our paths. The starship is represented as an asset. That's kind of just a base thing everybody gets, but we get 2 paths, and paths are kind of skill sets or a way of life. And the 2 assets that I'm going to start with are going to be where are we? Are going to be Blade Master. I picture this guy using a sword. And these, the first thing that Blade Master gives you is when you clash or strike. So those are like your basic attack moves. in close quarters, add +1. On a strong hit with a match, you are unstoppable. Mark progress. I'm not going to explain how everything works right off the bat. There is a wonderful channel called The Bad Spot who has like how to play videos, and if you like want to see more of Ironsworn, they're a really good channel, and they can recommend other channels as well. That's how I got into this, and that's where I learned how to play. I will explain what we're doing as we go through it. I'm just not going to do like a here's how you play Ironsworn video. But they do have a wonderful video on explaining the basics of the base game, which are pretty much the same as this. So we are going to be a sword wielder. And I picture the swords kind of like, if you know the older lore of Star Wars, like the original, I think they were called Force Sabers or something. These are swords. These are weapons that have been enhanced through like magic and almost alchemical processes. So they're probably rune covered, and they're stronger and they're sharper than a normal weapon. It's not lightsabers or anything like that, but they are like almost just the basic what you envision, usual magic weapons. Is they're just generally better than the other weapons is what we're gonna have. And the other one is going to be bounty hunter, because we are a bounty hunter. We are going to be tasked with hunting down some people, and we'll get into that when we envision our inciting incident later on. So this one is when you take a bounty contract and swear an iron vow to see it done. Add +1. On a strong hit, you've got a solid lead, may mark progress on your quest. When you fulfill your vow on a hunt, make the legacy reward 1 rank higher. So we're a bounty hunter. We're a bounty hunter that uses a blade. I'm sure he's got a gun on him. He probably has some sort of sidearm or something like that for engaging in ranged combat, but his specialty is the blade. All right, so next is create your backstory. So the character I have in mind and the story I have in mind is essentially part of an order who is meant to protect the colony, or the not the colony, but the capital ships. That's what we were calling them. To protect the capital ships. There is a special resource that these guys use. I've been picturing, based on the name of the campaign, or based the name of the campaign around it, is these big crystals that are used as almost like massive batteries. Instead of like a nuclear power or something like that, we've got these deep in the heart of these capital ships, and on a smaller scale in other things, we use these special crystals as this massive energy sources. And I think we are tasked with maintaining and protecting these assets, the crystals that we kind of have built our life around in the Forge. I don't think this was our original power source. I think we've retrofitted and found these since we've come to the Forge. But I think the Seers don't like that we're using these and kind of almost bastardizing and adapting these to run our technology. I think they see this as like a natural sort of thing that should be left alone, and that we're corrupting or using it, much like we did, back on Earth, back when we just used all the resources we had willy-nilly with no thought to the consequences and stuff. So our character is a guardian of these. They whenever something gets interfered with or stolen, especially by this other group of seers who has formed somewhat recently to oppose the advanced civilizations and stuff that we're trying to build. So I think we have training in combat, we have training in tracking and stuff like that. We probably have some basic engineering and technical knowledge to be able to like investigate sabotage and stuff like that, but we're not super big into it. We might eventually develop those skills. We'll see. We don't have any magic yet, but we are also, I'm picturing them as a young, like a young adult, early 20s, like maybe they just got out of their training. They're just finally old enough to be on their, own missions and stuff without a mentor figure, or without, you know, they're just out of the classroom. They're a fresh college graduate who has gotten their rank and is now has their license and their permission to go out and do investigate these things on their own. Next is write your background vow. So this is, you will envision and mark down a background vow to represent the primary motivation or ultimate goal. Envision the vow. Consider what you know of the setting and the characters thus far. What nagging ambition, aching need, or sacred commitment drives you? This is your background vow. So this is not our initial goal. This is like our overall character motivation. This would be like solving a mysterious secret, or protecting our loved one. This, you know, I don't know, like find a kidnapped loved one and bring them home, or in our case, I think it is going to be it is supposed to be an epic vow. And the difference between vows, to show you real quick, is basically how much you mark progress. Everything in this game goes with these progress trackers. So you've got, I think it's 10, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yes, 10. 10 boxes. So instead of having different amounts of boxes, you mark different amounts of progress when you make progress. So if it's a troublesome, you mark a whole box, which is 4 tick marks. It's supposed to be 3, 4. So whenever something says you mark progress on a troublesome vow, you'd mark 3 boxes. A dangerous is 2 boxes. Formidable is 1 box. Extreme is 2 tick marks. And epic is 1 tick mark. So every time, so for our background vow, every time we get closer to it, we're gonna mark just 1 tick of the progress in a box. And then when you've finished a vow, you roll against the progress of the vow to see if you've completed it or not. And we'll get into that. So this is an epic vow. This is supposed to be something we're working on throughout the entirety of the game. And I think we're gonna call this hunt and disband the Seers, because my character doesn't like the Seers. They're very much a colony man. They want to see their loved ones and the people around them thrive and survive, and these people are a threat to them. So we will we'll see how that goes, and if it holds up. Maybe we'll end up abandoning it. Maybe we'll find a way to make peace. Maybe we'll strike a devastating blow and scatter these people to the edge of the forge. We'll see where that goes. Next, we board our starship. So we'll get our starship command vehicle. Your armed multi-purpose starship is suited for interstellar and atmospheric flight. It can comfortably transport several people, has space for cargo, and can carry and launch support vehicles. When you advance, you may spend, and that's advances level up, you may spend experience to equip this vehicle with module assets. So we have our starship, and our starship needs a name, and I think this is a starship that we were given. I don't think this isn't one that we were purchased. This is once we got our license from one of the capital ships, they were like, all right, here's your starship. There's a problem. Get to it. Get to work. So I think we need a name for our starship, and those names come from, we can make one of our on our own, or we have these lovely thing called oracles. Now, oracles are this game's way to help you make decisions when you don't know what's going on. So, for instance, if you come across a starship or have a starship like ours and you don't know what the name is, you can generate one. And in the book, in like the physical version of these books, these are just charts. You roll a D100 and it gives you a suggestion. Now, this could just be as simple as like going, oh, what kind of planet do we have? And you can roll like on the type of it. You can roll the region, like you roll that, and it's a jungle planet. And that tells you some things. I am new to using this software, by the way, so there will be a bit of a learning curve for me, but let's figure out what our name is. And so the three regions in space, that's what the region is: Terminus, Outlanders, and the Expanse. It's basically like these are our inner core of settled, civilized, established worlds. The Outlands are like there are outposts from the Terminus, probably like getting specific resources and stuff like that. And the Expanse is like the unsettled region. This is where like Uncharted and stuff like that. Now there is still stuff in the Terminus that is Uncharted, and that's where we're gonna start. Or is it? I think we're gonna start in the Outlands. We're gonna start in the Outlands. We're gonna start like mid, like on our mission. We're from Terminus, but we're gonna start our story in the Outlands. So let's just, what's the name of our ship? Oh no, that's class. My bad. Name. Stellar Hawk. Okay, so the Stellar Hawk. I think this ship is not new. Like we're not a big name person in this world. We're not high ranking or anything like that. So this is probably like a workhorse of a ship. This is a ship that it was built for someone in our group, and it has been used, and it has been turned back in and repaired and refurbished, and now it's ours. So there's probably it's in good shape, it's in good working order, but there's probably a couple of panels here and there that you could tell have been replaced, maybe some stains on the carpets on the inside, some a panel that you can definitely tell was ripped out from the previous owner for an emergency repair that has since been retrofitted back into place, stuff like that. So it's a well-loved, new for us spaceship. Let's see, there's a little chart here for Envision the Starship. Should we see if through all of its old stuff, if there's something weird? There's a little thing to roll. So if we roll a D100, something weird of just a little thing. So 15 is, can I make a note on here at all? Okay, gear and notes. Stellar Hawk. Phantom music sometimes echoes through the corridors. So sometimes you swear just on the edge of your hearing, you can't make out words, but you hear just drifting of some strange melody. And if you try to stop and focus on it, it's gone before you can even register. And catch yourself maybe humming along to it when you're working on the engine or something like that. Ash has gotten used to it, but anyone he transports is either weirded out or tends to bring it up. And So something at one point happened to this ship. Now we move on to our final asset, and I think I've got our final asset already figured out here. It can be any of these. So there are a couple of different types of assets. There's a module, which is stuff that attaches to our starship and enhances it or changes it in some way. There are vehicles, support vehicles, to where you can get like a hover bike or an exosuit, stuff that you can deploy outside of the ship. And then there are paths, which is what we had. We got 2 paths to start, and that's just, you know, those are like character traits, or what would be the equivalent in other games of like feats, probably. And then finally there are companions. So you can get little creatures that can help you along your way. Oh, there are also deeds. These are specific. These are things that like you have to do a thing to get. So like Oathbreaker, like you can't take that until you forsake a vow. And then you could take it, and it'll give you a bonus around that thing you did to make it better. But I think what makes sense for a bounty hunter is a grappler. We have some sort of technology that allows us, and I think this is going to be like a tractor beam type setup, where it's like you're going to stop somebody from being able to run away from you in space. On the ground, we'll eventually have to get our own vehicle, but I think this is better. If they try to run from us in space, it's gonna be a lot harder to track them down. So next is to set your stats. These are our stats right here. Now this is an array. I'm sure people have come up with other ways to do it, but I'm just going to go with the standard way. Each stat has a value from 1 to 3, and that's what you add to your dice roll to do anything. So when we roll dice in this, you roll a d6 plus your attribute versus 2d10. And if you... Here, let's show here. This is a weak hit. So we rolled a 2 plus 0 versus a 9 and a 1. So what we'd do is we'd roll a d6 plus an attribute versus 2d10. If our roll is higher than both of the d10s, it is a strong hit. If it is higher than one of them, it is a weak hit, which is what we rolled right here. And if it is lower than both of them, it is a miss. And if you have doubles on your 2d10, it exemplifies whatever you rolled. So on a miss, it's really bad. On a strong hit, it's really good. On a weak hit, it is just extra in both directions. So our 5 attributes, or stats as they're called in this game, are edge, which is our quickness. It's kind of the equivalent of dexterity or agility, and it governs ranged combat. Heart is your courage, your willpower, your empathy. So this is your social attribute, your ability to resist hardship, and your ability to influence others. Iron is your physical stuff, your endurance, your melee combat stat, and anything to do with athleticism and just physical prowess. Shadow is your sneakiness. This is both to lie and to sneak. So lockpicking, stealth, infiltration, cunning and deception, manipulation, that's all under shadow. And finally, wits is your expertise, your knowledge, and your observation. So this is using your brain power and your smarts to do stuff like that. So we get 1 at 3, 2 at 2, and 2 at 1. Now, because we're a blade master, you might think that we're going to go with iron for a 3, but I think we're going to put our wits at 3. I think this character thinks first and comes up with a plan, at least when they're able to. But we are absolutely going to put iron at 2, because they are not afraid to throw down. But they're also they're a good person at heart. You know, they might work for the people who some say are oppressive, but that's they see it as the people who give stability and the people who protect those, and that's what Ash is trying to be. He is a protector. He is someone who is trying to help people and help keep his people safe. So we're gonna have intelligence pretty high, and that's their main thing. And then they are able to throw down when they need to, and they're also going to try and talk their way out of a situation before they pull steel and start swinging their sword around, if they can. And that leaves Edge and Shadow at 1. They're not a super stealthy person. They're not very good at ranged combat, or quickness. They like to think and talk their way out of a situation, and if either of those fail, hopefully he's close enough to be within sword range. Otherwise, we're probably gonna have a rough time of it. So the next thing is to set your condition meters and stuff. That this app automatically does all of that for us. That's what these up here that I talked about first. Your momentum resets to 2, unless you've got some sort of issue going on. Dice roller again. Is that down here? Yeah, these impacts. So wounded, shaken, unprepared, doomed, tormented, and indebted. Those are what happened when like health and spirit reach 0. We'll get a penalty, and it'll lower our reset value to where when we use our momentum to overcome one of those missed rolls. So what it does, now that you know how we roll, so say we roll and say our momentum's at 10. We got this weak hit, and we really want that to be a strong hit. But what we can do is this number that we rolled changes to whatever our momentum was when we reset it. So we reset this back down to 2, we make our roll a 10, and we're now at a strong hit. And that's how momentum works. And now we're to the step that I've already did before this started, which is to name our character. Okay, so the last couple steps are just kind of finalizing the narrative of our character. They want to envision our character. What does Ash Yeager look like? So that last name is definitely definitely German in origin. I think we're gonna go with a North American, at least ancestry. That's where I'm from. So that's what I know best. I'm not equipped to represent a different culture like that. So we'll keep him familiar. So I think I think we're gonna go with black hair, kind of medium to short length, just over the ears. You're not gonna see a whole lot of it because I think he has like an armored, like a helmet and some basic armor. We don't have the armored asset, so we might pick that up to represent that later. But I think his gear definitely includes at least a protective suit to protect against, you know, harsh environments and chemicals and stuff like that. So I've been picturing like kind of like an inquisitorial order, not Star Wars Inquisitor necessarily, just the generic, like think like a D&D Inquisitor, witch hunter, investigator of magic and stuff like that. Someone who investigates the weird, the dark, and the scary to help keep the light in control, or you know, what they see as the light at least. So probably darker, black gray suit, with a I think long sword type, just the straight blade with the cross guard. And then he doesn't have like a surface ship to help him, so he's probably got a pack and something like that. And his sword hilt, going back to our original thing about the iron, The pommel of his sword is actually where he's gonna hang the charms for his his iron vows. But yeah, so black hair. I think green eyes, pale green eyes. That people might think are almost gray from a distance until they can get up and see the color. And he's probably got some scars, maybe a little scar on his cheek, kind of like between the corner of his eye and the corner of his mouth, maybe not like going through his eye or anything, just off to the side. And definitely some scars from training and previous missions before he finally got his qualification to go out on his own. But that's gonna be hidden under his suit most of the time. And the last thing for character creation is to gear up. We don't have like a gear list. You can it says your spacer kit, you can assume to have access to fundamental necessities for space travel and exploration, either carried or stored in your ship. Your spacer kit includes a sealed environmental suit that'll be part of his suit. Flashlight / headlamps, toolkit, medkit, personal communicator. He's got his sword, he's got a blaster. He's got basic survival. He's got his survival pack that's part of his setup. And I think that is everything. It doesn't part of the name. Okay, yeah, optionally you can give your character a call sign. So the call sign, let's just roll up a random call sign. I think Angler is just kind of the basic one. So the call sign, boom, Vanguard. So Vanguard is his call sign. I definitely think with a call sign like that. Now I know a lot of organizations where you get call signs, you're not allowed to pick your call sign. Your buddies have to give you your call sign. So I think if he was given one like that, we're definitely going to have to get into protection, some sort of ability to help protect people, and so some armor and stuff like that. Then so that's our character. That's Ash Yeager. That is the start. That is our world and our character. Last we need, before we get really started to begin our adventure, is we have to make our starting sector. So this is where we start out in space. So we'll make our starting sector, and then we will begin our adventure, and we'll get all of this set up out of the way, and then in the next episode we will make our initial our initial foray into this world. So alrighty, so I took a second and made some proper notes on our ship and our person, expanded out our wrote down our basic, I guess, special called out equipment that we have, aside from the usual mundane stuff that we can assume that we've had with how this game works. So building a starting sector, which if we go over to our sector, we get a nice little hex grid map over here. So the starting sector, real quick, a sector is a settled or explored area of space, according to the book. In the fiction of your setting, sectors are named and provide the people of Forge a common means of identifying a location. So this is just basically like we've labeled this spot on the map. Whether there's stuff here or not, we aren't always sure. Our starting region is probably not going to be the terminus. So we have 4 technical different regions of space. There's terminus, which is the well-charted, well-settled, well-explored area. There's still gonna be some new stuff to discover because, you know, space is big. But this is where this would be like the inner system planets and stuff in common sci-fi parlance. I think, should we start in the terminus? I guess we can start in the terminus. We'll start in we'll say it's a terminus on the edge of the Outlands. The Outlands is the next region, which is kind of like the frontier. There are some outposts, some settlements who have broken away from the main people, maybe planets and stuff that have special resources that the terminus planets want and stuff like that. And then there is the Expanse, which is the far flung. This would be like the first people going out to the California Gold Rush type after it was discovered. So we're probably not going to interact. Well, we might get all the way out there. We'll find out. I think we're going to start in the terminus, just on the edge, probably where our adventure begins, going out towards the Outlands next, most likely. There is also the Void. In the book says, in the reaches beyond the Forge, isolated stars are separated by vast gulfs of nothing. Travel and settling here is impractical, if not impossible. Don't start your campaign here, according to them. So we are going to start in the terminus, and they recommend that if we start in the terminus, we have 4 settlements. Now, settlements are anything that is just a designated populated area by people. People is the word I'm looking for. It's just an area populated by people. So it could be a planet, could be a space station, could be just a big ship or something. But it does recommend that we have 4 settlements to start with, and I know we're going to start with a planet for 1 at least, guaranteed. And then after that, we'll see what the dice generate for us. First, we need a sector name. There is a wonderful person who did a lot of expanded oracles to give us more options on what to do. So I'll just have to type it in manually after rolling. So we're gonna roll like we roll a normal check. Here, that's a 2 and 61. Okay. So I'll just check the PDF I've got over here. 61 for our prefix, lacuna. And if we roll again, we've got 513 is calamity. The lacuna calamity sector. So I'm picturing maybe some sort of space battle or something, or an initial conflict when this region of space was first discovered and first settled, before they where something went wrong, something maybe we lost a planet, or a planet became uninhabitable, and it no longer is usable. Settlement and planet oracles. Okay, let's do the planet oracles first. Create a location to save the data. Okay, we're gonna roll this up and we'll pick a location. Or should we just pick some locations? I know we're not supposed to do that, but this app makes it easier if you pick some locations for your settlements first. So let's just click randomly. Let's get space so the directions don't matter too much. Let's go here, and we'll go here, and we'll put one way over here. All right, so this cell, call this cell home. So I can save stuff to it. Is a location. Okay, we have to put a planet in there. So region is terminus. Type. Let's pull up the planet oracles. Okay, so what type of planet do we come from? And they do have some Earth-like planets. I believe it's called a vital world in this. But they also have like the single, they're set up for single biome worlds. So it's a jungle. Okay. Check out the jungle stuff here. What is name? Name is Aster. So we come from the planet Aster, which is a jungle world. So do I want to use the default? Well, yeah, okay, it is just the basic. There's no role for description. So there definitely is a settlement here. I'm just going to say that it has a planet side settlement. Did I spell that wrong? Plain? No, it just doesn't like it being one word. Just do that so that the red. It's a planet side settlement. What is the atmosphere like? Marginal. So our options are none / thin, toxic, corrosive, marginal, breathable, or ideal. So this is the atmosphere is a I don't think that really makes sense for, are these numbers different for different planets? Yeah, they are actually. Okay, we just rolled kind of badly. This is just for us. The trees breathe just fine. We struggle, so this is probably not a super oxygen dense planet. It's got plenty of atmosphere. It's just not great for us. You can probably survive for a little while if you're caught without your mask, but I think to be outside you're gonna have to have suits or masks or be in enclosed vehicles, which is good that we have one. Probably also why we have that kind of more enhanced suit that is a little bit better than a usual just regular environment suit. So what do people see? We're gonna roll a observed from space feature. Expansive rivers or wetlands. So there's a lot of things like the Nile and the Mississippi and stuff like that. Big giant rivers cutting through the continents and stuff like that. Probably good that people don't travel around too much. I think people are going to stay in the arcology for the most part, unless they're in one of the probably auxiliary settlements. So planet side feature. What interesting things do we have on this planet? Waterlogged caves makes sense. And does it? Okay, it just adds things. And scarred clearings. So there are probably waterlogged caves and these clearings. I'm gonna say the clearings are probably our fault from the whatever gave this sector the name, the Lacuna Calamity. They maybe two capital ships arrived here at the same time and ended up duking it out, and one fell to the planet and did a whole bunch of damage when its reactor went critical. We've managed to keep ourselves on the other side of the planet, but we've already made our mark even before we had touched down on this place. And what is the life like on this planet? Diverse. So that's the middle of the road. So it's probably Earth-like. There's a good number of critters and creatures and flora around, all kinds of plants and stuff that we've probably found various uses for and whatnot. Is there a planet-side peril or a planet-side opportunity? I am going to say there is a peril. That is part of our initial inciting incident that we will get to, and that is that our, what I'm going to call heart crystals. That's a proper word. But stolen. So our heart crystals have been stolen, and the heart crystals are the big crystals that we've discovered in this region of space that we're using to power all of our machinery and our big arcologies. So we've probably got little bits that are used for like energy weapons and personal batteries and stuff like that, but then there are these big honking giant ones that we have adapted to our power generators and our engines that power our arcology and our capital ship to save to keep ourselves going. But I think our inciting incident is going to be that some of the backup crystals, maybe our medium-sized, not our big main one, obviously, but medium-sized ones that we use to do other like redundant and important things that aren't connected to like the main power. I think some of those have been stolen by the faction of Seers, which we're gonna do a couple of factions too, our faction that we work for and our other faction. Look at that, I clicked the wrong thing. So this is the home sector, or the home set, I guess I should say. Aster there. Let's see what our settlement is like. Settlement location is Terminus, planet side. Okay, so first we need a name, and our should we just name it after where it came from, or do you think after 200 years we would have renamed it to something else, I think. Yeah, so what did we end up renaming it to? Purgatory. That's wonderful. Although, you know, we are kind of trapped in there and unable to leave except under special circumstances, so I guess that that is appropriate. Probably a very disenfranchised section of the population took control for a while, and changed the name to that, and then as we haven't bothered to change it back, obviously. So what is we can just select the population. This is the capital. So I'm just gonna say tens of thousands for our starting capital. Not all of the capital ships are gonna be like this, but I want ours to be nice and prosperous, at least on the outside. Maybe we'll find out it's not like that. What is our first look, though? When you first get here, what do you notice inside our home? Intimidating defenses, so maybe outside our home too. Probably appropriate for North America if the Americans were involved. Not lots of in-your-face guns and heavy shielding and plating and stuff from our original design, considering we didn't know what we were going to see when we got here, if we were going to have to fight anyone, if any of the other places. And you know, we probably used some of these defenses and weaponry to get our to cause the calamity. But let's see if is there something else. Let's add another detail. Extensively beautiful architecture, so that we have, once you get inside, we've made this place home. We have made Purgatory into something that we can be comfortable in if we're going to be stuck here. So on the outside, it's big, industrial, brutalist, but you get inside and there's probably a lot of natural stuff, considering we're on a planet. I can imagine lots of atriums and wood and natural fiber stuff, considering that's readily available to us. So a lot of not necessarily homespun, but rustic. Probably beautiful and rustic on the inside is what I'm picturing. The authority. How is our authority? I'm going to say it can't be none or lawless. But let's see, other than that, what we roll. Fair. So it is fairly ruled, middle of the road. It is not overtly tolerant or overtly ruthless. We try to do our best to give everyone their fair shake. You know how we're a lot of places claim to do nowadays. Maybe we've figured out in this far-flung future a little bit better how to do that. Are there any projects going on? I'm going to use... Okay, we'll do projects. I'm not going to say well, there is trouble. We already know what the trouble is. Let's see if there are any projects going on. Medical and defensive. So I imagine defense is always an ongoing project. Medical, I know we said that our medical stuff is not the greatest. We have it's more technological solutions to biological problems. So maybe we're trying to find new ways. I bet there's probably a big push right now going on. Lots of investments in the medical fields to try and find, with all these new plants and stuff that we have access to, trying to find out new uses to maybe synthesize replacements for the old medicines and procedures and stuff that we lost. And then, of course, the ongoing maintenance and improvement of our defenses, just in case. And our troubles are the same as the planet. Crystals have been stolen. Okay, so can I save that? Yes. Okay, awesome. Okay, but I need to delete this settlement. So we have Purgatory, which is a planet-side settlement on Aster. Just gonna make a note here for the architecture. So probably I'm gonna guess either the people who came after or the people who named it Purgatory and were like, this place isn't livable. This place is kind of a pseudo hell that we're trapped in. They're like, we're gonna change that. We're gonna make this place livable and actually enjoyable to be in. That's our first settlement. Let's move on to our next one and see what we get. Bring that back up. Terminus location, random location, planet side. Let me just roll that again. Yeah, okay. Planet side. So the options for it are planet side, orbital, or deep space. So planet side, name is Farpoint. So I think we're going to be doing over here. So what is the population of this settlement? Hundreds. So Farpoint is pretty small. Probably some sort of outpost gathering resources. First look. What is this place? Well, I guess we won't do the first look because we haven't been there yet. For all of this stuff. So that's all we know. That's all we really know. We know there's a settlement there. If I delete this planet, we know there's a planet-side settlement. We'd probably know what the planet is like a little bit at least. So what kind of planet is it? It's a desert planet. So it could be sand for things like glass. I don't know what else you really get out of a desert for natural resources. Oil, maybe? Do they have oil in the desert? We'll look that up if we get there to figure out what it is. Atmosphere is breathable. That's good. That's very good. We know there is a planet-side settlement. And observed from space. I don't think we know all that. Life. Yeah, so this is just, we know it's a desert planet. We would know the name. What's the name? Morricone. I probably butchered that, but Morricone? I'm gonna go with Morricone. Morricone, the desert planet out in section H2-C. So they have that. We'll clear all that out. And then we'll move on to our next settlement. Clear that out, which is in deep space. Deep space, top or bottom. I think we're gonna go with this one. H16-9. Has a location in it. What kind of settlement, or what's the name of this place? Deception. Okay. Interesting. So maybe this is a, this might be like a false attempt to maybe show, well, I guess calling it deception doesn't work, but, or maybe it was a false attempt. There we go. It was a settlement that originally started as a false attempt to trick people who were looking to move in on this sector. So we put a place out there that, like, yeah, this is totally where we landed when we were actually over here. And once it came out and it became common knowledge, it got renamed to Deception. And it does have thousands, so it's got an established settlement out there. So yeah, they probably set it up to look like, you know, there were actually, at a glance, you just couldn't find where they were going. But it's deep space, so it's probably it's like a space station, actually. So it was probably just had people going to various inhospitable planets, or what's the word I'm looking for? Meteors and stuff, and like mining resources from them to look like there was a presence somewhere in that area, but you just couldn't find it. And it turns out there was just a space station there, coordinating everything. So yeah, we can put that there. Deception is there. Wonderful. And finally, what is up here in 16-2 is a location. So finally, this is another planet side one. It is Helia, and the population is 100. So another small one. 16-2, Helia, perfect. And let's roll up a quick bit of planet for that. Jovian, planet side Jovian. I guess, yeah. I have read a fiction, a sci-fi series called Bobaverse, which highly recommended if you guys like space type stuff for your books. Bobaverse is great. Audiobook especially, really well done. They have minor spoiler for it, I guess I should say, to warn you. Floating cities eventually within Jovian planets. So maybe this is like a dome-like floating city that uses gases and whatnot to keep itself afloat. I'm going to say we know the atmosphere. The atmosphere is corrosive, so it is very much dome city. It's not open at all. Probably a lot of problems with resources and stuff there if we ever end up going that way. And it is called Tyrannus. Good, wonderfully like a doomed name, something very foreboding. There we go, foreboding or ominous. That's the word I'm looking for. Ominous name for a probably very inhospitable place that people are worried about. I'm sure there's all kinds of problems with getting clean atmosphere and stuff in there. Not that anybody in Purgatory would know. Of course, we don't worry about them out there in. So this is our starting sector. We've got 3 planets. We've got a little space station. Should we determine what type of star? Because we did say the star type is important. Because, you know, the white dwarf planets are the white dwarf stars are problems. They gets weird around ones. So should we check and see if we have a burning yellow star? I'm gonna guess that's sun-like. Yeah. So it's probably run of the mill. there any place for notes? Star animation. Filter. No. Okay. So just I'll just put it here in the homes. Yellow. Yellow star. Just so we know, just so we remember if it ever comes up, that this star is perfectly fine. So clear that out. Alrighty. So what is there anything left before we're supposed to start? Because I do have two, I think, extra things I want to do before we okay, I think there is some extra. So we generated our planets, generated our settlements, create our sector map. We've got that. Create passages. So next you will select passages for this sector. This is an important little bit here. A passage is a charted route among the drift. Spacers rely on these routes for travel and trade. Think of them like using GPS and freeways to drive a distant city as compared to traveling only vague directions on unmarked roads. So if you're using passages, it allows you to have a it's like a well-traveled, well-marked route to get through space. So mark passages, draw the passages as lines on your sector map. Each passage must do one of two things: connect two settlements or connect a settlement to the edge of your sector map, leading to another sector. For a starting sector, assume that a terminus sector has 3 passages. So we could do, I think we obviously need to do a route like that. Yes. Okay, so that's just that marks it as a passage. And there's probably a passage. Make it a little wonky. So we'll do, I guess that it's got a little bit of a hook to it. And I don't think Farpoint is gonna have a known passage to it. Maybe there was one at one point when people first went out there, but it has since been left abandoned. We are going to have a passage out of the sector though. So we have people will come in, stop at Aster, fuel up at Purgatory, maybe pay some entry fees and stuff, so they the registration fees, so we know who they are, and then they can move on into exploring stuff or going back on their way. Zoom in on a settlement. We already kind of did that, where we rolled some extra details about Purgatory. So initial contact, I'm gonna put it to friendly because we kind of work for them. We're bounty hunters. So we zoomed in. We did that accidentally, where you just look at a place in more detail. Step 9 is create a local connection. So connections are important relationships with NPCs. They're either reoccurring or the word I'm looking for, important reoccurring, or they'll be like, oh, we have just like if we come back, it's like it's a person that we know that we can kind of bring up. So let's take a look. It says to take a look at the make a connection move, which is that, yes, here we go, connection. Assume an automatic strong hit. On a strong hit, you create a connection, give them a roll and a rank, and whenever this connection aids you on a move closely associated with their roll, add +1 and take +1 momentum on a hit. So we need to make a connection. Where connections here. Oh, I can actually put this right here. Black hair. We did. Green eyes. Campaign. Factions. We are going to do a couple of factions before we end this. We'll do some oracles because we assume a strong hit. So, connections are not shipmates or companions. They're independent characters whose own life occasionally intersects with your own. So someone we fly with, or that is running with us. We're going to be on our own to start. A connection role can be inspired by your character's background. Consider making a role specific and nuanced. A role such as xenoarchaeologist is more inspiring than researcher. And it's okay if they don't provide an obvious benefit. It's you never know when it comes up. So we have to give them a rank. Connection rank appropriate to the role and level of involvement you want them to have. Consider making them troublesome or dangerous for the starter. I'm gonna make them a rank dangerous. That just means they're kind of a rank 2. It represents when you're trying to make them like how hard it is to make friends with them, and to make them a proper connection that will for sure help you out when you need it. Location, we're gonna put Purgatory. They're gonna be at our home base. Role. How do I want to describe this? I think they're going to be a we're going to call it a sniffer. And just to clarify information gathering. Sniffers are a part of our greater organization that they find and collect information. So we'll call them to maybe gather some information on our targets and stuff like that, and get, if we don't have any leads, maybe they'll have a place to point us in. So this is going to be someone they can go about, that they can help us. They can point us in the right direction. Not moves. I want oracles for. We'll look at the character. How do you spell? There we go. Oh, I just realized. Oh, it's probably in book order, not in alphabetical order. So, what is this character's name? Mari Metal. That sounds. There is no dice roller. I'll have to put a custom oracle. I did have a custom oracle, but I've gotten it written down on paper for my personal games, so I'll have to add in that for characters, if I can. But that sounds feminine. So we'll do a regular she, her for now. Will they have a call? I don't think they're gonna have a call sign or a nickname. They're not a space person. They're not a mercenary. They're not anything like that. So I think they just go by their name. What do they look like? Augmented. So maybe they used to be one. So you know what? We are gonna give her a call sign. I think she used to be a one of us, like an inquisitor, but maybe she like lost a leg and had to get a full leg replacement, and by the time she got used to it, she had lost her desire for field work. Obviously our augmentations and stuff are top notch in Purgatory, and she absolutely could have gone back out into the field if she wanted to, but losing an entire limb can put a damper on your desire to go out there and hunt people down. And what else? Eccentric. So, you know, her being, maybe the injury got her a little weird, some would say, a little odd. Obviously we don't mind. She's damn useful. So we're going to keep working with her no matter how weird she gets or what hobbies she gets into. But does she like us? Not too much. We don't know if it's just an act or if she's just a no-nonsense business type person when she's on the clock. But she is indifferent towards us. Maybe that's why we like her. Maybe there's no personal, there's nothing to get in the way of us doing our job and bringing the enemies of Purgatory to justice. We already said her role is a sniffer. Does she have a goal? I don't think so. I think she's pretty complacent where she's at. I don't think she has anything she's trying to do. Revealed aspect. Maybe that'll come up later. So this does allow us to put someone there. So let's see here. Sector. Can we mark them as a connection? Yes, connection. Wonderful. Okay, so there we go. There we go. We don't have to worry about that. Look at that. We can just delete this entry. Yep. Boom. Perfect. We'll get rid of the challenge track because she's already marked as a connection. Alrighty. Okay, so there's our connection. And then introduce a sector trouble. We already have that. And finalize your starting sector. Because we're supposed to give it a name and stuff. We already did that. And then we're off to begin our adventure. So first what we're going to do is we are going to I want to come up with two factions. One for us. One for the opposing faction. Just to get some stuff off the bat. So this faction, they're a Dominion faction. They hold sway. Where is this stuff? Where is the part in the book for this? So I can see what our options are. Yep. So Dominion is a governing power. Guild is an organization of specialists, and a fringe group is like a band of outlaws, outcasts, or rogues. So they, the faction we work for, well, I guess actually, you know what? I'm gonna say we're a guild. We're not the government. We are a guild of people who have vowed to do stuff. Our influence, I'm going to say dominant. That is described as far-reaching across many sectors. So we are dominant. Our sphere is bounty hunters, right? Let's make sure that's... Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna say bounty hunters off this list. Makes more sense. Bounty hunters. What is our name? What is our name? The Shattered Regiment. So maybe we are the remnants of old spacefaring. Let's have that open for now. The remnants of like the Space Marines and the Space Navy of the initial settlers of this. I'm sure once they got established, things changed and stuff, but some of us who had, some of the people who had made their name in the early days, star pilots and bounty hunters and mercenaries and whatnot who went around, all gathered up and made a core standardizing procedures and stuff like that, so we know things are being done correctly and the right way to cause the least amount of distress possible. Sure, I won't cause any sort of distress or chaos in this at all. Do they have any projects? We want to roll for that? Well, we can do incite conflict among rivals. So you know what? That is actually accurate. You know, we'll keep that. Relationship. We're just gonna say that they are. Spelled wrong. Towards the Seers, and I'll change that name once we have a name for them. Quirks and rumors. Any? Well, we'll give them a quirk. lives off planet and spaceborne fleets. So we have probably a, we've been calling this a home planet, but I'm gonna say that none of like the leadership is planet bound. That way there's no chance of loyalty. They've probably got space stations here and there. Maybe even deception is where we work out of if it's no longer officially part of purgatory. But we tend to be space rovers and stuff anyway. I don't think our people sit down and settle in very well unless they have to. Rumors. We'll say there's a rumor. Leaders are haunted by a dark prophecy. I don't think we know this. We don't know if this is true. We don't know if this is what this has. We don't know anything about this. We might have heard it, but we don't know if it's true. We don't know what the prophecy is. We don't know what people are concerned about. But maybe there's always something on the leaders' minds. So we've got this is us. So let's get a no, that's not what I want. Clear. Let's get our next faction. This is going to be a fringe group. What is their name? Different options, because there's a couple of different options with like of the and stuff, different combinations. So all right, let's see here. Scarlet Shards. Ooh, I like that. Maybe the crystals are red. So it's the Scarlet Shards, named after the crystal. They name themselves after the crystals that are here that we use, the heart crystals. Their influence, established, notable. We're gonna say notable because that's strong in that's dispersed influence across a few sectors. So notable. So if we get out into the Outlands, our influence is probably going to fade pretty quickly once we get away from established. We're probably on the edge of our territory already. I'm gonna say their sphere as a fringe group. I'm just gonna say cultists. They're kind of been picturing this kind of culty. Actually, that's how they're portrayed, at least. They projects, we're going to say to stop the abuse of crystals. Not, well, they say overuse, I guess, will be more accurate. They aren't, I'm not saying these are like sentient, kind of like kyber crystals and stuff are portrayed in Star Wars. These are not any, they don't have any sort of external influence. It's just a natural resource that's being heavily used that these guys don't like. They are definitely wards the Shattered Regiment. Change this now towards the Scarlet Shards. Okay, quirks. What's weird about them? Honors the fallen through unusual death rites. Okay, so maybe they've got some. Maybe we'll see their people trying to get their fallen brothers back from a battle and stuff like that. And any, what's the rumors that our people spread about them? See that, caught in the crossfire of feuding factions. Here we go. Yeah, I like that one better. Carrying a major offensive operation. So, according to our information, they are very much getting ready to make some play, and this theft of these crystals just confirms it. Obviously, this is us. This is the enemy. I think that's about all we've got to do before we get into things. So I don't think I want to do our inciting incident and stuff here, because that leads into our actual gameplay. This is This is like the beginning of the story. So we'll do, this is like the prologue. This was all the world building that you do before you write the book. And now we're getting into like prologue type stuff. So I think we're gonna start with that next time, and we'll go right into from that to gameplay. So thank you so much for watching. If you're excited for this and you want to see more, give a like and subscribe so you can make sure to come back when we actually kick off this campaign. And hope to see you guys soon. You all have a lovely day.